Hello students. Today we'll be talking about radicals and rational expressions. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to simplify nth roots and rational exponents. Now let's talk about nth roots. So we've talked about square roots before. This time we're going to write it differently using exponents. X to the 1/2 is the same as the square root of x. So you might be wondering, well, where does the 1/2 come in? So square root, there's actually an invisible 2 here that's always implied, and x is to the first power. So really there's a 1 as its exponent. So we can see the 1/2 here. But again, when we write square roots, usually you never see a 2 on the outside. Let's look at this example. This is the square root of 16. I know they're talking about square root because a 2 is implied here. So what they're asking is for the 16 to the 1/2 power. Again, we can see the 2 here talking about square root, and 16 is to the power of 1, which shows the numerator. So as we simplify, we break 16 down into its factors, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and you circle pairs because we're talking about square root. So the first 2 comes out of the square root sign, and the second 2 comes out of the square root sign, and we end up getting 4. Moving on to cube roots. So in this case, we're talking about the cube root of x written this way. We know it's cube root by this 3, this small 3 on the outside of the radical sign, and this 1, again, it implies x to the first power. Looking at the example with the cube root of 16, this can be written as 16 to the 1/3. And again, we can see the 3 here, showing the cube root, and the 1 on the top is really here, 16 to the power of 1. Cube root means we're circling a group of 3. And we can only take it out if we see 3 of the same number. So I circled 3 2's. I bring that 2 out, and I can write cube root of 2. Moving on to the 4th root, so we can write this as the 4th root of x, showing a little 4 here, denoting 4th root, and this is x to the power of 1 because there's a 1 on the numerator here. So the problem says the 4th root of 16. This can be written as 16 to the 1/4. And we can see the 4 here showing the 4th root, and 16 to the power of 1 because it has a 1 on the top. This time I'm looking for 4 of the same number because it's the 4th root. So I circle the group of 4, and I can take out that number 2. So the 4th root of 16 is 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. And lastly, to generalize, the nth root, if we wanted to take the 5th root, or the 6th, or the 7th, or the 100th root, we can denote this as the nth root of x, where the exponent of x is just 1 here. And again, we can work out any problem in this similar way as we go on with any type of root. Now let's try a few problems. So example 1 says to simplify the cube root of 54x to the 4th. So first I need to break down the 54 into its factor tree. So I'll do that here. 54 is 2 times 27, 27, 3 times 9, and then 9 is 3 times 3. So I circle all the ends of those branches of the factor tree, and I can put those numbers underneath the cube root sign here. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 3, and then x to the power of 4, I can write that x 4 times. So since it says the cube root, that means I need to circle a group of 3. So I can circle that group of 3 and this group of 3 x's. Those need to come outside of the cube root sign. So I bring out the 3 here, the x here, and I leave the cube root of 2x because the 2 and the x don't have groups of 3. So that would be my final answer. Next, example 2 says to simplify 8x squared to the 2/3 power. So this is a little different. And what's a little different is that there's a 2 here as its exponent instead of a 1. So thinking back to the last page of the general idea of rational exponents, we saw the nth root, which means the nth root of x, where n was the root here, and 1 went right inside. So notice how it changes when we have 2/3. So here we can see the 3 being the cube root right here, and this 2 goes inside because there's a 2 right here as the numerator. Let's go ahead and simplify. So 8x squared squared, that means there's 2 8x squared. So I'll write that twice. Break down those into its factors. So 8 is 2 times 2 times 2 with x and x, and same with the second part. I need to circle groups of 3 because it says the cube root. So there's a group of 3. Here's another group of 3. And these x's, I'll circle them kind of like this. So there's 3 x's there, and that can come out. So I bring a 2 to the outside, another 2, and then finally an x. The only thing that's left underneath the cube root sign is this x here, so it stays underneath. Finally, to simplify, you multiply, so 2 times 2 is 4. I still have the x, and then cube root x. That's your final answer. Okay, go ahead and try these ones at home, and then I'll see you guys in class tomorrow.